All right, welcome back, everybody, to the I'm Gonna Stop You Right There podcast. I think we are in week 5 of the podcast. We had to take a couple weeks off the past 2 weeks. I was out sick last week. It wasn't COVID. I think it was just a bad case of the flu. But I apologize in advance for any sniffles or coughs that come through. I'm still working through the latter portion of that.
You can utilize the mute function.
I will. If I can anticipate the coughs or
Yeah.
the sniffles fast
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
I'll definitely mute myself so that there's not too much interference there. But yeah, it's been an exciting 2 weeks in the sports world. A lot's happening. The World Series is going on right now. We're going to talk about that a bit tonight. It was an exciting week of NFL football. This past week, we're going to talk a bit about the Bengals. They kind of had their rout of the Ravens this past weekend. Super surprising game there. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some AFC, NFC predictions going ahead. We're going to take a look at the Thursday night matchup tomorrow between the Packers and the Cardinals, two top NFC teams right now, really two top NFL teams. And then if we have some time, we'll transition into a little fantasy discussion at the end here. But to get things started, we are going to kick it off with the reoccurring segments, the favorite moment of the week. And mine this week, you might have seen this on Twitter. It's been circulated now by a few different accounts. It kind of went viral. It was this high school football game. And I have the specific details here. Let's see here. So it was at Cathedral Prep in Erie, Pennsylvania. This defensive end, his name is Wakeem Page. He anticipated the snap perfectly. The offense ran just a simple pitch play to the running back. And this defensive end, he read this perfectly, came off the edge and caught the pitch from the quarterback that was meant for the running back and took it to the house. It was incredible.
I saw that.
Yeah. It was like he had the playbook. It's like he knew exactly what was coming, exactly when to jump off the ball. It was good stuff. That kind of gimmicky stuff that you really only expect to see in at the high school level. But yeah, I love that. It was awesome to see. That's for sure.
Yeah. I actually saw that. That was crazy. I've never seen anything like that before. You really gotta have such great timing. It's like, yeah, he did seem like he knew exactly what the play was. So that was absolutely crazy. Like, wow, that's something that you won't see often.
Oh no, that was the best defensive jump I think I've ever seen anybody have in any football context. Like, just awesome to see. And I'm sure the offense is just like, what the hell just happened? Like, I can't even imagine.
So my favorite play of the week was the Jaylen Brown dunk against the Hornets on Miles Bridges. And maybe we'll be able to put this clip in the podcast later in post-production, as well as the football sort of snap interception, because these are two great plays that you just sort of have to see how crazy they are. But Jaylen Brown had a posterizing dunk on Miles Bridges, and that's something great you like to see as a Celtics fan. The Celtics are back. The NBA season is underway, and hopefully this is the kind of plays that we're going to be seeing from the Celtics going forward this season. So love to see that highlight play from one of the Celtics stars, Jaylen Brown. And also it's funny because Miles Bridges had a like a similar posterizing play last season, and the Hornets announcers they're very animated. The play-by-play guy is, so he had this famous call where it was like, Bridges, how do you do? And yeah, and
I love that.
yeah. So
And that Jaylen Brown dunk came in overtime. It was the go ahead bucket there too. It just makes the moment even bigger than it was. You know,
oh
it
yes,
wasn't a middle of the game type dunk. It was in crunch time at the end there. So
yeah,
awesome stuff.
yeah, yeah. It really gives it the extra exclamation mark when it's at a time like that, and it wasn't even like a regular dunk. It was like a highlight play dunk. So
Right.
that's not something you usually expect to see in an overtime game. So yeah, hopefully we see the Celtics have a great year this year. They they've had success in the past, but they've never really been able to take it to that next level. They've been to the conference finals a couple of times, but never been able to have an NBA finals appearance in the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown era. So hopefully, Jason Tatum is getting better every year. So hopefully he's able to take that next step this season.
Oh yeah, this seems like the season for Jason Tatum. That's for sure. I agree with that completely. But yeah, it's early NBA season, just getting started. So let's move on to a season that's ending, which is the MLB season. We have the Braves and the Astros in the World Series. The Braves took game one. I think it was 6-2 was the final score there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So now it comes back here, and game two is that tonight or is it tomorrow night?
It is tonight at
Tonight
8
around 8 o'clock.
p.m. Yes.
Sure. So in about an hour here, that'll be on. So yeah, I mean, personally, I for self-care reasons, I had to stop watching the MLB this year, because all signs throughout the regular season pointed to the Brewers having kind of a breakout year. They were a Cinderella story that was Cinderella from the beginning of the year, right? It's not like they came on strong at the end. If anything, they fizzled at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, everybody in Wisconsin, they were believers. You know, we just saw the Bucks do it. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is Wisconsin's year to shine in sports. And they just couldn't find the bats at the end of the year. Their offense sputtered. Their pitching was there all year. They had great defense, great pitching all year. But they just couldn't find the bats at the end. So what I mean to say here is that I have not been watching the World Series to this point. I've been focusing more on the NFL, and like I said, that's out of self-care because I just can't handle it. But I don't know. You might. I don't know if you saw game one. If you did, I don't know if you have any pressing reactions or predictions for game two, anything like that you want to discuss.
I did not watch game one. I'm not the type of person usually to watch basically any part of a baseball game if the team I'm rooting for is not in it, even if it is the World Series. Just baseball, has not been my top sport to watch because it's not the most exciting. But I did see that the Braves quite handily beat the Astros, and that the Braves are pretty hot right now. And going into game two, Houston is still the favorite in this one. They're favored by 1.5. It says on CBS Sports. And the over under is 9 runs in this game. And it's at Houston. So we'll see if Houston is able to grab a win at home. But it seems
Houston was.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to point out that Houston all year this year was one of the better home teams in the league. They went 51-30 in the regular season, and the Braves on the road went 46-35. So all signs seem to be pointing to Houston having a bounce back game. And Houston, they're kind of the evil villains of the league right now. After getting caught cheating, all of that type of stuff that came
Oh
out.
yeah, definitely.
It kind of feels like they're the evil villain that everybody's kind of rooting against, unless of course
Mm-hmm.
you are from Houston and you're an Astros
Uh-huh.
fan. Um, but my completely non-expert, not watching opinion, just reading some of the analysis of this matchup, is that Houston is probably going to take the series in the end. Um, just based on the fact that they have a more loaded roster. I think that your point that the Braves are hot right now is a good one.
Mhm.
And it kind of it adds more to that they maybe weren't expected to get this far, right? So that not only are they playing with momentum, but there's also that like underdog drive that's feeling them right now too. So I might have to tune in a little bit more now. I might have to get over my sadness over the Brewers
Yeah.
early exit in the playoffs and tune into this one. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Uh, a, a couple more facts about the game. The Braves are 5-0 in their last five game twos of a series, so that's something to
Interesting.
keep an eye on there. And
So they're a good bounce back team. That's
yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. And the Astros are 6-1 in their last seven interleague games as a favorite. So, both teams have good statistics pointing towards a win right there. I would say I also think the Astros are gonna uh, bounce back in this game. Yeah, because they have such more of a talented lineup, and they're at home. But it remains to be seen. We're not exactly baseball experts here, but we
The World Series, you got to talk
yeah,
about it a little bit,
it's
right?
it's it's yeah. We got to talk about the World Series. If you're gonna talk about baseball, the World Series is the time to do it. So yeah, very very interesting to see where the MLB season is taking us, because as someone who's a Boston sports fan, I thought, and a lot of us thought that the Red Sox might win the World Series this year, or at least get to the World Series. Because the Red Sox are also a very hot team, like the Braves, and you know I heard someone say that you know whoever won the Red Sox Rays series was gonna win the World Series, and the Red Sox beat the Rays, so I thought that was a good sign. And then you know uh, they had that huge game against the Yankees in the wild card round to even get into the playoffs. So a lot of people were didn't even have the Red Sox on their radar to be a
Right.
deep
Yeah.
a deep playoff team. Yeah. And so then they come into the ALCS against the Astros, and um I think they won game one. Let let me check on that real quick.
Yeah.
No,
I
okay.
don't know that off the top
Let's
off the
see.
top of
No,
my head.
the Astros won game one. Okay, and then the Red Sox won two straight, and then the Astros won two straight after that.
Sure.
So as the Red Sox have usually done, they didn't have a great start to the series. Then they had two great games, and in game three, they that was the game. Um, let's see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was game two or three, but they had one game where they had two grand slams in one game, and that's never been done before in MLB postseason history. So a great showing from the Red Sox, and then the final two games of the series, they just the bats were dead for them. They couldn't seem to get a hit to save their lives, in in the
I
final
know that
two
feeling.
games.
That's
In the final two games, they got one run. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, what happened? Where did they go?
They wasted it all. They wasted
Yeah.
all of it hitting those two grand slams. That's what happened. It's got it
Yeah,
all out of their system and couldn't get it back.
yeah,
I mean, it's a good sign though for the Red Sox of next year, because this year there was good reason, as far as I understand it, to think that maybe this wasn't going to be the year for the Red Sox, even though with big market teams like the Red Sox, the Yankees, etc., any year can be the year. But from what I understood, there was good reason to believe that this year maybe wasn't it. So it was impressive that they even made it past the Yankees in the wild card playoff, and then got into the playoffs and played well for the short time that they did. So, I mean, that's got to leave you with some optimism looking ahead to next season.
Yeah,
If nothing else, right?
I think so. Yeah, we've got some great young stars in Kike Hernandez, who had a great playoffs. He was hitting home runs all over the place, and I think he had like around a 400 average in the I think the ALDS. He was just having a great average in the playoffs in general. And we got Alex Verdugo, who's also a great player. And then, we've got JD Martinez and Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers was also hitting a ton of home runs. So we've got a pretty good hitting lineup, along with, veteran third baseman Xander Bogaerts. So yeah, I think that there is reason to be optimistic about the Red Sox going forward. And we got Coach Alex Cora, who led us to World Series in 2018. So now he's back, and I think the Red Sox are in good hands.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff for next year. That's for sure. I can't say the same about the Brewers. Small market teams like that, it's kind of a crapshoot year after year,
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe in Craig Counsell over there in Milwaukee. I think that he showed that he is, at the very least, a very competent manager. So we'll see. Time will tell. But in any case, I will be tuning into this World Series more now, that we kind of got the storylines down and stuff like that. So terrific. Yeah, we'll see what happens tonight. See what happens in Game 2 tonight. See if the Astros can bounce back at home, or if the Braves stay hot. We will see.
Yeah. Go baseball.
Right. And on that note, let's jump over to football here. So let's start with the Bengals. They had that blowout win on Sunday over the Ravens, division rivals. That win gave them the lone spot atop the AFC North. They have the tiebreaker now. Both them and the Ravens sitting at 5-2. This was a very impressive performance, I thought. And I'm sure you did too. And I'm sure most people did. Very much not expected. Joe Burrow showed out, threw for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he had 1 pick. But nonetheless, an amazing game. There was also a really good breakdown on ESPN. Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky broke down how the Bengals defense was able to keep Lamar Jackson and company in check. And that was really great. Maybe we can provide a link to that video, below this podcast somewhere, something like that. But the question that we're going to be talking about here is, did the Bengals do enough this week and in past weeks to show that they are legit contenders coming out of the AFC as we move toward the second half of the season here? I'll let you answer first here. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think they definitely are. I think this is really the game that has put them over the top in the AFC playoff conversation. Beating a great team like the Ravens, who were we're 5-1. That's a huge win. Puts them atop the AFC North, and yeah, I do believe that they're going to continue this play going forward. I think they definitely have a chance to win the AFC North. The Steelers aren't looking too hot. Of course, we have the Browns, and we'll see how they do the rest of the season. But the Ravens are going to be the main competition for the Bengals this season. But now that we see that they can beat him and beat him handily, like they did this past weekend, I think that the Bengals are legit. They've got Joe Burrow, who we know has always been a great quarterback. He just hasn't had a good team around him, and hasn't had a good offensive line to protect him, but that seems to be getting better. And then we've got Jamar Chase, who I think is definitely an offensive rookie of the year front runner right now. He's just balling out right now. So 2 LSU guys in Cincinnati right now, just doing absolutely great for the Ravens right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much all of what you said there. I am a bit wary about this team, though. They have some bad losses to NFC North teams, the Vikings and the Bears, to start the season. They played the Jaguars very close. They also played the Packers very close, another good team. And that game was confusing in so many ways. They pretty much won the game twice on 2 missed field goals. Packers had a couple missed field goals. It was back and forth. That was just a very weird game all the way around. So definitely a winnable one, though. And they have played all, like the Bears week, also a winnable game. They lost by 3. Vikings week they beat the Vikings. Sorry about that. But in any case, I think that they're still a year away from being legit contenders, so to speak. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? Yes, 100%. Do I think that they'll make it far in the playoffs? I don't think so. I think the offensive line is still a question. I think, especially watching the game against the Packers, there was moments in that game. The Bengals should have won that game. The Packers were missing a lot of starters. But besides that, the Bengals just had a lot of chances. There were a lot of drop passes, late downs. Of course, the missed field goals, that was kind of a fluky thing at the end. Both teams were missing field goals back and forth. But the consistency I just didn't think was there. Now, the win against the Ravens, huge. That goes a long ways. I definitely think so. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure yet that that's not a fluke, right? That they didn't just catch the Ravens on a bad week. They didn't just scheme something up that the Ravens hadn't seen before, but that they will be able to course correct for down the line. The Bengals also have kind of a difficult schedule to end the year. They have the Browns, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Ravens again.
Oh yeah.
The Broncos with the sneaky good defense there that could disrupt the offensive line and Joe Burrow enough there. And then the Chiefs and the Browns to end the season. So do I think they make the playoffs? Yes. Do I think that they're kind of a dark horse contender if they do make the playoffs? Yes, definitely. Joe Burrow is, right after I saw him smoking the stick after the NCAA championship, I was like, all right, this dude's going to be successful. That's for sure. He's got swagger. He's not cocky. It's just pure confidence. And I love that. And like everything you said about Jamar Chase, I think he's the foregone front runner for offensive rookie of the year at this point. But I'm not sold. I'm not sold just yet. I think that there's some inconsistencies that still need to get cleaned up. On the defensive side of the ball, too, they have looked fairly solid defensively this year, but they've shown that they can be exploited, especially over the middle of the field. So we'll see. I'm holding reservations here. I know that a lot of people have been jumping on the Bengals are legit bandwagon here, and I definitely think they could be. I'm just not completely sold yet. So
interesting. Yeah. It's a good point that you made of the Bengals have a tough season to in this second half of the season. Yeah, they have a
The
lot of
AFC is just tough. Yeah.
yeah, they have a lot of divisional games. Yeah, they're playing the Browns twice, and they're playing the Steelers, and then they're playing the Ravens, yeah, as well as good teams such as the Raiders and the Chargers and the Broncos. Yeah, they're they're sort of the same way. I feel like they haven't quite had the best consistency and also having sort of an easy schedule, but you can't count out the Broncos. I don't think so. I think if the Bengals are able to win these big divisional games, it's gonna be huge for them, honestly. And
It
if
definitely will be.
yeah, and if Jamar Chase continues to have big games like he has been having, then that's going to be huge for them. Last game he had 201 yards on 8 receptions. That's crazy, isn't it? That's insane.
It's super efficient. I do think that the Bengals run the risk of becoming too predictable, too game plannable. And the reason I say that is it really comes back to the offensive line. They really haven't had much success running the ball this year. Just looking at the stats here from the Ravens game, a game where they were leading handily for most of the game. Pirine and Mixon combining for 23 total carries and just over 100 yards between both of them. And this has kind of been the story all season. So if teams can start game planning for that, if they can start dropping more defensive backs into coverage, making it more difficult for Burrow, Jamar Chase, and company to move the ball through the air, that I feel like that could be where this team comes to a stop. I feel like maybe they're catching teams by surprise right now. Nobody's really expecting much. So I'm not sold. We'll see as things move on here. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase just might be those dudes that are going to propel a team past what they look like on paper. But at this point, I'm not ready to say they're contenders yet out of the AFC. Playoff bound for sure. Contenders, I don't know. That remains to be seen. I would say a wild card team would be where I'd put my ceiling at this point in time. But we'll see. They're an exciting team, that's for sure. I like to see the Bengals doing well, just because I haven't in a while. And they're one of those teams that, I don't know, for whatever reason, I'd just root for them.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him doing well. Joe Burrow seems like a super likable guy on top of being an amazing quarterback. Look, that division, if the Bengals wind up finding it, which I think they will, if not this year, in the next couple of years, that division is going to be a fun one to watch. The Browns, the Steelers, yes, it looks like they're going to be going into some type of rebuild here after this season.
Big Ben's getting old.
Right. But with Mike Tomlin, that they're not going to spend too much time at the bottom of that division. So that's a fun division to watch if the Bengals get going. I would say I'm more excited about the prospects for next year, but they're an exciting team. They're fun to watch every Sunday. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's hop over to the NFC real quick. There's a big Thursday night game tomorrow night between the Packers and the Cardinals. Cardinals only undefeated team left in the NFL. They're looking absolutely crazy. I don't know if you saw that viral video of JJ Watt on the sideline. He was like, I don't know if he was talking about people making excuses for the Cardinals winning. And they're like, they say it's because of this. They say it's because of this. And he's like, maybe it's just because we're a little bit better or something like that. And I thought that was JJ Watt, one of my all-time favorite players, Wisconsin alma mater. So definitely I have some bias there. But the Cardinals look kind of unbeatable right now. They're good on defense, although I did see JJ Watt is out for tomorrow night's game with I think a shoulder injury is what I saw. Nonetheless, that defense is solid. The offense, obviously solid. Kyler Murray kind of having a breakout season here. I think I saw that last week. Him and Aaron Rodgers took the 1 and 2 spots in terms of passer rating around the league. So this is really, really setting up to be the premier game so far this season. And as a diehards Packer fan myself, I'm nervous about it. I don't know how much you follow the Packers, but we are without a whole host of starters. Devontae Adams is out with COVID.
Oh yeah, that's
despite
huge.
being vaccinated, which really, really is annoying. Alan
Ugh.
Lazard is out with COVID. He's
Oh,
unvaccinated, so
man.
he could miss more time. And
Oh,
we also are
jeez.
missing our defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, who he's not even making the trip to Phoenix.
Is that COVID also?
Yeah, he was a close contact, and
Oh,
so he's not going to make it. The
damn.
defensive coordinator responsibilities are being split up amongst other coaches.
Mhm.
But on top of that, we're missing Jair Alexander outside at the corner position, possibly Kevin
Mm.
King, who's questionable, Za'Darius Smith, who's been out with a back injury all season, and a couple guys in the offensive line. David Bakhtiari, I think, is back next week at best. So in a lot of ways, my expectations are low for this. I actually do think that the Cardinals are going to pull out a win. They're at home. Packers are on a short week, as are the Cardinals. But in any case, to travel and to be missing that many starters, it just feels like a game where the Cardinals are going to prove that they are the top team in the league. So yeah, my expectations are low for the Packers, at least that is. But we'll see. It could be also a game where we get to see some weaknesses of the Cardinals, if there are any. I'm not sure. But at this point in the season, the Cardinals just look like the team to beat. They look like the most complete team. That's what I'll say.
Yeah,
The most complete
yeah,
team in the league.
definitely. Mhm.
From one side of the ball to the other. So yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on what you think about tomorrow night and just the Cardinals in general.
Yeah, well, with the Packers, that's obviously gonna be tough for them. They're gonna have to overcome a lot of adversity in this matchup if they're going to win. I didn't know that they had that many players and coaches out. I definitely knew that they had Devontae Adams out because that's been big news recently. But yeah, they're with Aaron Rodgers, I don't think they're really ever counted out, but
Definitely not. Definitely
yeah,
not.
I I do favor the Cardinals in this matchup too. I think maybe it'll be a closer game than we think, but I still think that the Cardinals aren't slowing down anytime soon, and I think that they're gonna take this matchup. The Cardinals are favored by 6 right now. That's a pretty solid you know overdogs status right now. They've covered the spread 5 games in a row. And you know a player that's been a sort of an asset so far is James Conner. He's been doing pretty well recently. Got a touchdown and last week's game. So James Conner is back. And he rushed for 65 yards and NFC best. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns this year. So, everyone talks about DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, but James Conner is there too, and he's has added to the Cardinals' success this year. This matchup is going to be a matchup of, I think, 2 of the best wide receivers in the league. Actually, dang it! I just realized I was just talking about that. Devontae Adams isn't gonna be there for this game. Dang.
I think I might have seen that D-Hop was questionable too. I think Hopkins might be questionable too. I'm not 100% on that. I would have to check to confirm that, but I think I saw today that he's questionable.
Well, anyway, disregard what I just said on that.
It'll be, I think, one of the keys too to this game So the Packers this year, just in watching them, which is a different thing from, so last year they were very good on first and second down, of getting either to third and manageable or just not having to play third down because they would get a first down on either first or second down. But this year they've found themselves in a lot of third and longs, just a lot of third downs. They haven't been quite as good on first and second down, and a lot of that has to do with their offensive line being injured. Rodgers hasn't had a lot of time in the pocket to throw. They've had to do a lot of off schedule types of things. But the Cardinals are, I believe, if I have the stat right, the best in the league on third down. Giving like something like, I forget the actual statistics, so I'm not actually going to say anything out loud that I don't know to be true. But I do know that they're very good on third down this year. So if the Packers find themselves in third down situations without Devontae Adams, without a consistent offensive line group that can protect Aaron Rodgers and allow some of these younger guys like Equanimeous St. Brown and Amari Rodgers, some new guys in the offense to get open, then that could spell trouble right away. We could be looking at a bigger spread than 6 points at that point.
Oh, definitely.
And on top of that, you mentioned James Conner too. The Packers still, as has been the case for a few years running now, they're still not great at stopping the run. They've gotten better with Devondre Campbell in the middle of the field. He's been, I think, the highest graded linebacker per PFF this year, which is amazing, considering he was on the streets during free agency. Kind of a shot in the dark kind of pickup there, but it really worked out for the Packers. And so I don't think that the Packers defense is going to be able to contain Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense. I think it's going to be a shootout, if anything, right? But if they do have a chance at containing them, they're going to have to be solid against the run on first and second down. And then I think what the Packers did a lot last week after Taylor Heinicke broke out a couple of big runs for Washington is they had Devondre Campbell play kind of a QB spy with, I think it was like a cover 2 man and then the 2 safeties high. So I think to be successful, they might have to do that the entire game, keep Kyler Murray in the pocket or at least uncomfortable, right? And then they're going to have to play solid defense in the secondary. And that's going to be hard if they're without 2 of their top corners. I think that Kevin King is questionable, so he may or may not play at this point. But in any case, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm going to be so stressed from the minute I wake up tomorrow until the time the game's over tomorrow night. But I'm excited. I'm very excited. I want to see, I think if the Packers can pull this one out on a short week with all the injuries they have, I think, I think that's, it's going to show a lot that they've come a long way since their week 1 blowout to the Saints. Yes. So, and likewise for the Cardinals, it's going to prove that they are a true contender that can compete with, a very consistent team, a team that's been consistent for now 3 years running. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for the game. That being said, I am betting against the Packers here. I'm taking the Cardinals. I think that the Cardinals are going to pull it out in the end. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, but I just think the Cardinals are a bit too overpowered this year, and the Packers are a bit too banged up. They have too many injuries, and it's too short of a week to overcome that quickly. So,
definitely. I think if the Packers do win this game, that is a terrific sign for them going forward. I'm just looking at the Cardinals schedule moving forward, because if the Packers don't beat the Cardinals, I'm thinking, well, dang, who's going to stop the Cardinals? Who's going to dethrone them from their unbeaten season so far? And I'm looking, and really the only tough games that the Cardinals have coming up are against the Rams on December 13th and the Cowboys on January 2nd. So, they
have Colts is a sneaky one in there too, but otherwise you're right. It's a fairly easy schedule ahead for them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cardinals undefeated season, maybe? I don't know.
It'll be interesting.
It's really tough to do.
I feel like the week, what is it? Week 18 now. because there's 17
Yeah.
games in the season. So the
Uh-huh.
week 18 game against the Seahawks, if the Seahawks can stay at least a little bit relevant with Geno Smith,
Uh-huh.
and then they can get Russell Wilson back, that week might be a big one for the Seahawks. And if the Cardinals are in and they're sitting pretty, it could be a week where they rest some starters, and that could be a
True.
loss if the
That's
Seahawks
true.
are playing for their lives. But beyond that, you're right. It is quite the easy schedule for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a big one
uh,
this Thursday though.
yeah. Then if they lose in week 18 to the Seahawks, and if also they're starting, if they're benching a lot of their starters, that's not really like a legitimate loss right there. That's like one where you more expected, like, okay,
Right.
they're sort of like, throwing in the towel here and looking forward to the postseason. But it'll be interesting to see who, if anybody, dethrones the Cardinals this year. I think someone has to. We haven't had an undefeated team in a while. Obviously, we always had those teams that lose like three games. 2 games is like the gold standard. If you lose 2 games in an NFL season, that's like, wow, that's really good. So we'll see who
The Rams there and the Cowboys are both ones that are scary, and
yeah.
both definite contenders. And
Yeah.
I honestly, I think the Colts are on their way up. I think the Colts are trending upward, and I think that could be. It's a Christmas game, it's a
Oh
Christmas
yeah,
Day
wow.
night game, prime time
Nice.
slot there. So I think that's a sneaky game too. I think the Colts
Mhm.
are going to be better towards the end of the season than people are projecting them to be right now.
Tyler, are you saying that you believe in Carson Wentz?
I'm saying if he's healthy, I believe in the Colts. I don't know if I say I believe in Carson Wentz fully. I think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback. I think that, well, he proved it. He was a top MVP candidate until he got hurt with the Eagles. Um,
But
so
he's
I
not that
think
guy
that
anymore.
that's what people are saying. That's what people are saying, and that definitely could be true. But he's proved it in the past. I think if there's the right situation around him, which I think there is in Indianapolis, they have a strong running game with Jonathan Taylor there. Good offensive line. He's got weapons around him. Their defense has showed up more in recent weeks than at the beginning of the season. And I think if he stays healthy, they have a legitimate chance out of the AFC. But speaking of which, we can kind of transition over here now into our dark horse contender picks out of the AFC and NFC, because we're nearing the halfway point of the season here, so we kind of have a better feel for who is who and what's what in the league. So yeah, as we were just saying, my AFC dark horse contender this year is the Colts. Like I said, I think that the Colts are coming on a bit stronger in recent weeks. If Carson Wentz can stay healthy, sky's the limit. They're sitting right now at second in the AFC South. Obviously, the Titans are going to be the team to be in that division. The Titans are looking great as well. I think you're going to say a few words about them in a moment here. But yeah, if the Colts can stay healthy, I think that they have the pieces to be a good team. This week, they do play the Titans. That's going to be a big game. It's Halloween, 1 p.m. game. But beyond that, they have then games against the Jets and the Jags. So two games that they should win. They also will play the Texans this year, the Patriots, and then the Jaguars again. So these are all winnable games. They do have a bit of a tough road. They have the Bucks coming back here, the Bills, as well as the Raiders. But if they can pull at least one of those out, just one of those tougher games. The Bills have shown that they're vulnerable. The Raiders, obviously, with their season kind of confusing right now. We're not really sure if they're true contenders or if they're going to fizzle. We don't know on the Raiders. So I think if they can win one of those games where they're going to be projected to lose, then they've got a shot in the AFC for at least a wild card spot. And if they get in the playoffs, they're going to be a tough out. So that's my AFC dark horse candidate, the Indianapolis Colts.
Great. So for my AFC dark horse, I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans have come on very strong recently, with a 27-3 rout of the Chiefs this past week. And so I think sort of all the pieces are there for the Chiefs. They've got arguably the best running back in the league, Derrick Henry, who's been very dominant these past couple seasons, and they've got Ryan Tannehill, who seems to be a pretty solid quarterback there down in Tennessee. He's one of those quarterbacks that wasn't too great in Miami, but he seems to be doing pretty well in Tennessee, or at least pretty well at handing it off to Derrick Henry and letting him do all the work. But he's still a great quarterback. Someone's gotta throw it to AJ Brown. So
don't forget about Julio out there too.
Yeah, Julio is he's sort of like Carson Wentz. I feel I'm not still not too big on Carson Wentz, and same with Julio. He's sort of not the same from injury. Julio hasn't really done that well this year, but still he has the potential to have some big games.
I view Julio Jones as kind of the LeBron James during the regular season type player. I think that he's making some business decisions right now, and come the end of the season here, you can't count Julio Jones out. I think the Titans are going to be. I think the Titans are going to be a phenomenal team towards the end of the season here. Probably a sneaky Super Bowl pick as we move on in the season, for sure. I like that pick.
Yeah, and it really helps they're in a very weak division in the AFC South.
It does.
Yeah, everybody else in the AFC South right now is just terrible. It's just the Titans are like miles ahead of everybody else in their division. So the Titans, looking like a very, very strong team. The Chiefs haven't been that great of a team, this season anyway, but the extent to how the Titans blew out the Chiefs was a good sign to really how great of a team they are. And so are you going to do your NFC prediction now?
Yeah. We can move on to that one.
Yeah.
So out of the NFC, this was a tougher one. But I landed on the Saints here.
Okay. All right. Some Jameis Winston action, eh?
Yeah. So part of the my reasoning behind that was that the Saints offensive line, I'm hoping that, so my caveat here is if the Saints offensive line can improve, and improve consistency wise, I think that Jameis Winston is the guy that can get it done. I saw a stat, I don't remember the exact numbers, but Jameis Winston is the number one QB with a clean pocket this year in terms of passer rating.
Interesting.
So if they can keep him upright and not on the ground, and they can give him time to work, then I think the Saints will be just fine. And they've had some bad losses this year. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Panthers bad. But they also had the big win in week 1 against the Packers, which may or may not have been a fluke. We don't know. They beat Washington, who has a good defensive front. They beat the Seahawks. Of course, that game was also not a great game to watch. And really, it didn't look like a great game played as well. The Seahawks obviously were without Russell Wilson that game. So it was a game that they should have won. But nonetheless, I think that the Saints, with their schedule going forward, they do have a few tough games. The Bucks, the Titans, the Bills, the Cowboys are in there too. But beyond that, there's a lot of winnable games on their schedule. And if they, like I said, with the Colts, if they can pull out a win in at least one of these games where they will definitely be an underdog, then I think that they definitely have a chance. And if they make the playoffs, anything's possible in the playoffs. And I think that they could be the team. I think people, because of Jameis Winston's past with the Bucks, his inconsistencies there, I think that they're real quick to write him off. Right after week 1, it was like, okay, Jameis is the dude. Like this is his comeback tour campaign type deal. But then after they sputtered in weeks 2 through just this past week, people were quick to jump off that bandwagon. They're quick to be like, well, nope, he's the same. Excuse me, the same Jameis Winston that we saw in Tampa. But the numbers don't lie, and when he's had a clean pocket, he's been the best quarterback in the league in terms of passer rating. That is. So yeah, it's going to come down to their offensive line play if they can keep him upright. Their defenses look good. Their secondary especially has looked real good. So if they can get that consistency on offense, I mean, just the differences in what they're scoring each week. I mean, 38 points the first week. They score 7 in week 2, 28 in week 3, 21 in week 4, and then 33 in week 5. And then last week they score 13 points. So their offense is all over the place right now. But if they can get that on track, and if Jameis Winston can have a clean pocket to throw from, they might just be all right towards the end of the year here. So that's my NFC dark horse pick.
Yeah, you got some interesting picks here. You say, I'm a big fan of Carson Wentz and Jameis Winston.
Right.
Those aren't really popular picks that a lot of people would say, but these are dark horse picks, and right. Who knows? Carson Wentz and Jameis Winston could have great second halves to the season, and we could point to you and say, hey, Tyler called it. He was able to vouch for Winston and Wentz when no one else will.
Nobody else would.
Yeah.
I love an underdog.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. So my dark horse pick for the NFC is the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-3 so far. So they've sort of had a mixed start to the season, but that's because Dalvin Cook has been injured and now he's back, and that's a huge thing for the Vikings. Having another one of the best running backs in the league is huge for your offense. And we've got Kirk Cousins, who's been pretty solid at quarterback. And then we've got, I think, one of the best wide receiver tandems in the league. You've got Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who have been doing great so far. I've got Justin Jefferson on my fantasy team, and he's just been doing wonders for my team. He's having a great sophomore season, and yeah, he's helping the team a lot. And on the defensive side, they're not too bad either. They've got great players such as Harrison Smith, and their defense is ranked 8th in the NFL, and they've allowed only 16 pass touchdowns this year through 7 games. So
they've lost some heartbreakers too. They've played some good teams real close, and there's been some heartbreaking losses in there. I really like this Vikings pick. Their secondary is playing a lot better than I thought it would to start the year. They have a really young secondary right now. Mm-hmm. And they've held some good quarterbacks and wide receiver duos in check so far. So I like this pick a lot. I think that the Vikings could come on strong. I'm a bit worried with them over there in the NFC North with the Packers. I think that they're going to be a tough out for the Packers this year. And we still have yet to play them. So we got 2 games with the Vikings coming up yet on the schedule. And I think both of those games are going to be difficult ones to win. And the Vikings are kind of flying under the radar. So really, that's a sneaky pick. I like that pick. The Vikings, definitely a good dark horse contender. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I was just looking at the Vikings schedule here. They've had a lot of close games against good teams, and they lost by 1 to the Cardinals, 33 to 34. So that's a very promising indication right there. They're
Definitely is.
they're in these games against good teams, and they went to overtime with the Bengals, losing 27-24. But again, they're in close games against good teams, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all you can ask for, really. So I I think the Vikings have been a good team for a while, but they haven't really been able to push it over the top, just sort of like the Bengals have. Um, but I think most importantly, if Dalvin Cook keeps up his RB1 status, then the Vikings are going to look pretty good this season coming up.
Yeah, consistency will be the name of the game for them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I like that pick though. That's a great pick.
Yeah.
We will see. I think we are nearing the hour mark here, so we might have to table this fantasy discussion for next week if that works for you.
Yeah, just like we always do. But
we'll
like,
push it up next week. We'll push it up a little farther and make sure we have time for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, I don't want to run much over an hour here.
Yeah.
But next week we'll definitely get to some fantasy. We can tell you what, next week let's start with the fantasy discussion, and then we'll branch out from there. Make sure we get it in that way.
Cool. Great. Yeah, well, we always just have a lot to say about real football that we don't get to fantasy football, which a lot of people are very very interested in, and there's like whole podcasts on fantasy football. I guess it's not really much of a priority for us. They always say, and at the end, we can
right,
do some some fantasy discussion, but ended up talking a lot about other topics. But that's fine by me. So yeah, it's been a good week. Or it's the past couple weeks, since we haven't done this in a little while, and in sports, primarily the NFL, since that's what we've been covering primarily, and the World Series game going on
update
right now. Yeah,
just a little update. The Astros are out in front 1-0 right now, top of the second inning. So that early prediction that they'd have a bounce back game is looking like it's coming true here for right now. Like I said, first inning, top of the second inning right now. So we'll see how the rest of the game goes. But with that, I kind of want to go watch this game, to be honest with you. So we can call it a wrap for the 5th installment here of the I'm Going to Stop You Right There podcast. And yeah, I'll see you next week.
All right. See you next week. Bye, everybody.